All right, I got an idea. You know how a lot of people on YouTube or these rich fuckers are giving people free money and giving back. Sometimes they're like $10,000 to strangers, and there's all these games and stuff. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we don't have money to give like that. But what if it's a couple session, we go together. If not, I'll go alone. We make a house call, free session, anyone who falls from the sky, and it's just me making house calls on my Harley.
I mean, I love the idea of giving back. I think that's great. I think especially like the idea of a free session. I don't want you going into some random person's house, though. I want you to vet them and make sure it's like legit. I mean, from safety perspective, right? So if you can do that, then I think it's a great idea.
Perfect. 30 minutes. We're meeting a couple in Echo Park. We're just going to lay out the blanket. I'll go on my bike. You take the car.
Oh, God.
I'll see you there.
John.
Our relationship began during May of 2020. We both came from rocky paths with relationships and troubled parents. I personally have been cheated on a few times, plus my own abandonment issues with my father and abusive mother. He has had his own set of troubles with relationships, such as abuse, leading him to seek comfort before cleaning up his side of the street. In addition, a cold father and abusive mother. Unfortunately, his past is very present or well known in our community due to him being from LA. This unfortunately became whispers in my ear as we became more serious. Anytime I try to discuss these things, he would become defensive, only aggravating my insecurities. This would lead to a fight, gaslighting, and packing to leaving. This would place me in a shut-down, protective mode of my heart. We would eventually, after time, find ourselves together yet again, as our soul connection is deep. In May of 2022, for a few months prior, I kept feeling off about where he was at. He felt distant. Plus, I noticed signs of him potentially seeking comfort outside of us. I was left with an extra phone of his, to which the intuition was very loud. Against my typical respect of privacy, I sought to soothe my intuition. I found communications with an ex-girlfriend of 10 years. These communications, in my opinion, were emotionally cheating, also with the idea to meet up when he was out of town working where she lived. He claims this never took place. This led to him gaslighting me about how I shouldn't be going through his phone and what have I been doing. Clearly a protection on his part to hide the broken trust. We did not speak until late July. I was hurt. Sure enough, after a month later, when I realized I was pregnant, I reached out to speak. I approached it from a place of, I'm 35. I want this child regardless of your choice. An abortion is not an option. I'm offering you the opportunity to be a part of this child's life in any way you choose. This is not a trap to get a choice. This is something I've always wanted. We both have to choose to break the cycle of our parents and our poor choices in order to give this child the life it deserves. He was very excited about my decision and wanted to be a part in a big way. With our rocky past, I do fear a revisit, as there will be extremely hard moments with a newborn. I'm hoping we can heal our wounds, leave the past behind, and choose a safer future for us to grow, as we are both willing to do the work to grow together.
What happens for you when you're in conflict? What happens for you in your mind, in your body? Where do you go when he comes to you and says, hey, I need to talk to you about something, Francesca, this isn't bothering me, or...
A lot of times it doesn't even get there. I don't get that. It's usually he becomes irritable, or I can sense the energy in the room.
Yep.
And then it makes me feel uncomfortable, or I'm on edge.
Yep.
And then I start to internalize and I shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't want to talk at all, because like now I'm just feel
Sound like somebody you know?
Yeah, like we're looking at a mirror.
I know.
So,
yeah.
I feel like we're literally looking at ourselves across the...
So she's avoidant, I'm anxious.
Yeah.
I can be irritable and pouty,
Yeah.
right?
Change the
Or
temperature
like
of
if
the
I don't
room.
get sex or whatever.
Right.
And I'm over here going, what the fuck is wrong? Like, why?
And then
Yeah.
it's hard for her to express herself and where she's at and all that.
Yeah.
So the tension starts to build,
Yeah.
right? And then it's like you can't even have a conversation because people are so
if I
pumped up.
overexpress, if
Yeah.
I feel like I overexpress, or if I'm getting to like I need answers now, kind of situation, like I can fix this. That I go into that mentality. I can fix this. Just tell me what's wrong. Just tell me what the deal is. Tell me what's wrong. I can fix it.
So let me ask you, why do you get to a place, or do you know, why the kind of energy shift? Why not just go to her immediately and say, hey, there's this thing I want to talk about?
It's finding the right temperament on how to say it, how to present it, so it's not coming off as aggressive or I'm on the offense to start a fight.
Right.
Because then she will internalize and shut down.
So how is that? How
and
is
get
that system
defensive.
working for you though?
Not.
Right.
I mean, like it's not been the best. Depending on the situation of what it is that I'm trying to get
Right.
get the situation. It's
So you're
always a situation
anticipating and you're strategizing
about
the
how I
best-
can present it without it being aggressive.
And when
or-
you're in the place of strategizing, she already knows that something's happening.
right.
She can read it a mile away.
And then I'm like a deal meal. Is this worth the calories? Is it not worth the calories? I don't think it's worth the calories. I'm just going to go ahead and let it go because really, water on a duck's back, right?
But it's
And I'm
not.
a duck. Well,
Never
I
is.
mean, depending on how far you hold the duck underwater, I mean, the thing's going to drown eventually, right?
Exactly.
So that's kind of the.
What happens when
The pattern.
something's bothering you?
A lot of times I process and then I will try to find, just as such as him, how do I present this? How do I talk about it? I try to find a safe space to bring it up. And if I don't find a safe space, then I just don't bring it up. And then it gets internalized. And then I choose, just like he's saying, is the juice worth the squeeze?
So it's always worth it.
Yeah.
I want to say that again. It's always worth it. Seriously. Okay. When you've got people that are conflict avoidant and hella codependent, by the way, where it's like, it's fine. It's no big deal. I'll brush it under the rug. I can figure this out. It's not worth it. Let me strategize. When you've got that personality or the opposite personality, right? Which is like the bubbling of emotion and like let me just try to work this out. But it's like so obvious to everybody that's in the room with you that something's going on for you internally.
Yeah.
You got to talk about it. And the finding of a safe space, there's so much strategizing going on. Y'all aren't being present with each other because you're so busy trying to strategize the best time and the best way to have the best kind of conversation. Right? And I don't know, what do you want to add to that? I mean, my gut is like, I know for me, so I'm going to put myself in your shoes, right? I'm the conflict avoidant. Almost always, it's usually John coming to me with the thing that we need to talk about, right? Usually what happens for me is he'll say like, oh, this bothered me or upset me. And I'm like, you know what? This other thing bothered me and upset me too. But like, I'm not even aware of it because I'm kind of compartmentalizing and doing my thing. What happens is I shut down. I have a really hard time with the defensiveness because for many of us, not just me, a lot of us have this connection or this coupling between I've done something bad with I am bad. So by you telling me that I hurt your feelings, I said this thing, we got to talk about this thing, I'm immediately in a place of like, I'm not worth it. I'm a bad girlfriend. I'm a bad partner. I'm a bad person. I'm bad, I'm bad, I'm bad. So those things obviously can't go into him, right? So part of this conflict also too is both of you learning self-soothing techniques when you're in these moments, right? So for me, what John said is so beautiful because I use what he says as a mantra. So when we get into conflict, when he comes to me and says, we got to talk about this thing, I immediately in my head start to go, try to understand before being understood. Try to understand before being understood. And it's like, I swear I'm listening. But in my head, I'm like rattling it off because I can feel the heat rising, my stomach clenching. I can feel myself being like, fuck this, fuck him. I know how that I do this, I do that for him. And I get into this place of defense. And if I hold that mantra for myself, many times it'll help me at least stay present enough in like I need to be calm and try to understand him. I need to be calm and try to understand him. And there's almost like a hump. If I can get over that initial defensive hump, then I can maybe be there long enough to hear him out. Because I want to hear him out, right? I want him to feel safe to talk to me.
Right.
How does that land?
No, I think it's great. I mean, definitely there is a desire to want to understand, but it is so much getting over that hump of the self-worth, the feeling like I've done something bad, I'm a terrible girlfriend. That is something that comes up for me. I mean, it came up today. Yeah. Just even hearing what I heard from my job, just being like, how can I even show up and be a good girlfriend when I'm dealing with all of this over here?
Yeah.
And, but at the end of the day, it is the most important to me. Our partnership and having each other to continue in the world is the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
So let's do a little exercise because there is prescription, there is theory, and then there's actually practice. What's something that you've been holding in, or something that maybe you have dismissed or minimized that you kind of wanted to talk about, but maybe you didn't? Is there something recent?
No, it's really the learning to fight and the communication.
Yeah.
Is it knowing that just this weekend we got into a disagreement. He thought we were having fun. I took it more personally. And just wanting to be able to get over, just like you said, the hump, and not shift into defensiveness so quickly, to be able to sort through being understood, trying to understand before being understood.
Do you believe you're a good girlfriend?
I do.
Okay. You said, how can I be a good girlfriend? And you said that sometimes you internalize your worth, especially right now with career stuff and insecurity, and also being pregnant, because it's such a vulnerable thing, right? What does that look like to be, quote unquote, a good girlfriend?
Being present, being from my heritage in Southern, it's doing acts of service. So cooking breakfast in the morning, making sure the house is clean, having dinner on the table, like very cliche, but it means a lot to me to be able to do those things, but finding the strength within myself when I feel like I don't have the energy to carry on because I'm so weighted down from the day-to-day with work.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I don't. Are those? Is that definition of a good girlfriend something that you have been programmed that this is what a good girlfriend looks like because of the Southern, or is that really truthful? That really is your definition? Do you know what I'm saying? Like for example, having dinner on the table, or so, are these?
I think these are things that are programmed, and I think for me, true to nature is being faithful, which is an issue for me. Being there for my partner to hear what he has to say,
Sure.
And feeling like it's hard for me to even hear what he has to say, feeling so pinned up and loaded with work stuff, and worrying that will only get worse with the child coming in.
Yeah.
If you, and listen, we're just talking concept here, right? This is a little bit different than like the actual embodiment of it, but when we find our worth outside of ourself, it doesn't matter what somebody says. It's always going to feel like it's an attack on that self, because we're not established in that sense of self in ourself, right? So when we know and we have that established relationship to ourself, our partner can come to us and say, hey, this thing, you took it really personally, whatever, and it's not gonna sway us. Or the job is gonna crumble and it's not gonna sway us. Or dinner, I'm gonna fucking burn dinner and it's not gonna sway us, right? But if we're always looking for things outside of ourselves to establish that base, that home base, there's always gonna be something that we can point to ourselves and say, you're not doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
You're not enough. See all of these reasons? Look at this list of reasons why you're not good enough, right?
Right.
So as a takeaway from this conversation, because I want to continue to talk about the arguing, not that you're not already working on this, but I think that, especially going into motherhood, is going to be something, whether it's your own individual therapy, reading, whatever it is that you need to do to continue to establish sense of self inside yourself, not anywhere else, but inside yourself. Because you're going to need even more of those resources once you have this kid.
What do you think about what she said about the whole good girlfriend and her the load that she puts on herself to meet those standards?
She has burdened herself with being a good girlfriend with all of these different tasks.
Yeah.
I take on a lot of them. I help cook, clean a lot. I'm OCD to the fullest. So I'm type A. I'm putting stuff away, cleaning it up. If it's not done my way and the right way, which is the right way, then I'll do it myself. I'll do it. I think she's a great girlfriend. I think she says that I think she equates it to us not having enough intimate time together, which is why she's not a good girlfriend. And I can beg for her to be intimate with me, every day or every morning, so much before it's her time. It's whatever when she, it's
Is
on,
that
it's on when she wants it.
Is that an
Yeah.
issue? Is that a pattern? Do you put pressure on her to be intimate and she's either tired or doesn't want to?
I don't know if I don't think I put pressure on her to be intimate.
No, I don't feel pressured
You
at
put
all.
pressure on yourself?
I put pressure on myself.
I pout, but I don't put pressure on her. Maybe that is
Pouting is pressure.
maybe that is a form of pressure.
As somebody who's empathic, I can
But
read that
wait,
shit.
I don't know if I pout because, I
You
mean,
pout.
Wait, show me what pouting looks like. What do you
You
do?
pout.
What do you pouting? What do you mean? Just kind of like
We know
grumpy?
what pouting is.
I get irritable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pouting.
I get irritable,
Yeah.
I guess, and maybe I close doors too hard. Or
Oh,
maybe,
yeah.
It's
Or
pouting.
Yeah.
the dishes get put away faster
Yeah.
than
So-
normal
Louder.
because I just
Or
want to
louder,
get I
yeah.
want to get to
Right.
the time we have on the couch, which
Yeah.
is then usually sometimes it just at the end of the day.
How often a
Yeah.
week does the pouting happen?
I mean,
Every day?
no, not every day. I think it only happens if like we are aimed or poised to try to be intimate and it's interrupted by a dog or a phone call or something, some other form of life, which I'm sure is going to happen with the child, right?
Oh.
And then it's going to be
Next level.
finding the
You don't even
time,
know.
right? And then it's going to be finding the time to get back to that
Yeah.
moment where, at 46, that's not like, I'm not a Tesla, I'm a 64 Buick.
Yeah.
I need to warm up a little bit. You can't just get in and like hit the button and
no,
go.
I get it.
I'm not, and she's 11 years my younger, so
Oh, we're exactly
at
11 years
this
too. I
different-
really feel
at
like we're
this
looking
different peak,
So when you
weird.
pout, what do you do? How do you take that?
personally.
Yeah.
Of course,
Personally,
yeah, definitely,
But-
personally. And then I shut down, and
Yeah.
then I'm
Yeah.
like,
Angry.
and now I feel
Angry.
like
Yeah.
I have to, and then it becomes performance
Right,
anxiety,
right.
and then I'm like,
Right.
I don't even know how to be sexy at this moment, and normally that's not an
Yeah.
issue for
So
me.
that pattern has to be broken. Again, these are patterns. They're going to lead to complete. The wings are going to fall off. Right? It's not sustained. Just over time. It's just I don't know how long. So I used to pout.
Used to?
Yeah. When I was married, I used to pout. What if you're aware of that about yourself?
Yeah.
How can you, or do you want to stop that? Is there a way for you to? I mean, I don't want to like minimize it that but like I understand it's hard for you. But how can?
Other avenues of focusing either on taking care of the dog, acts of kindness, acts of servitude
Yeah.
to something else other than that need or want.
Mm.
That whether I start picking up around the house or take the dog for a walk, something like that. I
Yeah.
just focus on that. Maybe going skating the boardwalk.
Sure.
I'm very social, so I'll just go dive into a friend.
Mhm.
And like, hey, what are we doing today? Let's go have lunch and go play golf or just do whatever, go smoke weed,
Mhm.
let's go burn one and talk shit. So, I get a lot of that, I guess, out when I'm with friends.
Is that realistic? Meaning, is that something that you can do and that you can sustain, or is that something that you're saying now and you do it once and then you're pouting again? And also, does pouting then lead to you watching porn and then taking care of yourself and then having anger and resentment that you have to take care of yourself, like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean that has been.
So you tell us how you're going to break this pattern or how you want to. It's something that I'm telling you has to be broken, in my opinion, because pouting either way is it's just not gonna work.
Well, and I think I
I think that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
How do I break that?
how do I break
Yeah.
that pattern? Right.
I mean, because it's
So
Yeah.
I recognize it,
Yeah.
and so
I'll tell you.
I was gonna say,
I'll be
tell your story
blunt.
because you have a similar pattern.
And also because we don't have we have this time and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
So
of
I'm
course.
just gonna be blunt. I think it comes from addiction. My dad was an alcoholic, and with addiction, emotional growth is stunted, and also if your parents or their parents were alcoholics, somewhere in that tree, there's a lot of adult children, right? And so I think the pouting comes from either your addiction or your parents, where there's been an emotional. It's like a 15-year-old
Right.
that doesn't get the keys to the car.
right.
And so I think you have to be aware of that's that part of me.
It's that expectation,
You know,
right?
It's the 15-year-old me that
Yeah.
has been stunted, that is angry, that he's not getting intimacy.
how can I self-soothe that person?
Health,
So yet,
That
healthily.
part
Health-
of it.
yeah.
Right.
So
right,
you
right.
have to be the adult
Yeah.
tapping into the 15-year-old
Yeah.
that has not been, raised with,
Right.
whatever. And so you say, oh, here's the opportunity for me to grow. What can I do? So that could look like going to a friend. That could be skating. That could be riding a motorcycle. Whatever.
Right.
It could also be rubbing one out's porn. Whatever you think
Right.
that's good for you.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's time for you to be an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know this.
Practice that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you see that
Yeah.
split happen in yourself. I think what's so beautiful about the fact that this is such a similar story is I've been watching you and witnessing you going through this experience of saying, like, when you notice that need, it's like, it's almost so obvious to see that inner child in you, that part of you that has a need. And the need is not necessarily sex, right? The need is connection. The need is closeness. The need is
Right.
to feel sexy, to feel desired, to feel connected, right? And that need is not being met. And so now I'm going to pout. The thing is, as adults, we have to meet our own needs the vast majority of the time.
Mhm.
Thing is, a lot of us don't learn that as kids,
Mhm.
right? How do we learn that as kids? We actually learn that as kids by having parents who meet our needs. Most of us didn't have that for whatever reason, right? It's not to blame the parent. They're busy, they're this, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, now I'm out here as an adult expecting
Yeah.
people to fill my needs and then being mad when it doesn't happen, when in actuality it's about reparenting.
But here's the value in it, 'cause you're not doing it for her.
No.
You're actually doing it so you can have a better, healthier relationship with yourself.
Yes.
It's actually going to grow your self-esteem, right? What can you do when you notice that he's pouting? And if your knee jerk is, oh, there he goes again, and you
Pissed off.
pissed off, and
Internal.
that's all he fucking wants is my body or whatever. What can you
Whatever the
do
thing is.
in that instead of what you usually do?
How do you change it? Your normal pattern.
How can you support him in that, but also, have your own stance and not, lose sense of yourself and your.
I have no idea.
It's not giving in. It's not
Yeah.
saying, okay, well, let's just do it then. Right?
Yeah, no,
Right.
I don't agree that it's that.
I would agree that it's that either.
No,
Yeah, no, of course
no,
not.
yeah, right.
No,
Right.
I don't know
Yeah.
how, and beyond not saying anything, it's almost like I just get quiet
Yeah.
and don't really
Yes.
know what to
Okay,
say.
so this is what's helpful for me.
Mhm.
If she says to me, hey, listen, I'm a little touched out, or I don't feel sexy, or, I understand that we haven't had sex in a while, whatever. If she's empathetic toward me, and just lets me know that it's not that she doesn't desire me, but we're just, two different places, or we're tired or whatever. It makes me feel good. It
Yeah.
doesn't make me feel rejected. It doesn't
Right.
make me feel ugly or neglected. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't
100%.
activate me.
Yeah.
I feel safe. And then now I can go take care of myself, or I'm at least more understanding. So if you can meet him there, right, your version of that,
Yeah.
you guys are now handling the problem together instead of just reactions.
I'm going to give a yes and to that, because if he's already in the state of pouting for whatever, it doesn't have to be sex, by the way, right? It could
Right.
be anything.
Right.
And you're already like that feeling internally where you're like, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm like annoyed and I'm internalizing it. Something's wrong with me. I did something. What did I do? Staying in that place obviously is also not healthy either, right?
Correct.
So here's the thing. This is the challenge that John and I'll have, is sometimes I'll say, it's hard for me to come to you with compassion when I feel like I'm also not getting the compassion back, right? A little bit of it, someone's got to go first, which is a little hard, right?
Yeah.
But my version in that of compassion might look like, John, I notice that something is going on with you. I can sense that something's wrong. I'm getting really activated right now because you're not saying anything. So I'm going to go for a walk.
Yeah.
When I get
Okay.
back, maybe we can talk about what's wrong.
Yep.
Right? So what happens is I am saying out loud what I know is happening because I can feel it a mile away, right? I can sense something is going on with you, but guess what? I'm also activated. And I can't have a conversation with you when I'm activated because I'm not going to be able to pull from compassion. I'm going in pissed off already, right?
Yeah.
So what I need to do is actually say, I sense what's happening here. I'm going to go take a walk and do a little self-soothing. And then when I come back, maybe we can connect.
Yes.
And then go do what you need to do to kind of be like, okay, right? Because if you're coming in hot already, like forget it, right? You're already, like you said, that's that match. The kindling's already there. How does that land?
No, that lands perfectly. I mean, a lot of times it does turn into me taking a walk or going and doing something to distract myself, but the communication isn't there that's what I'm doing, because I know anything I'm saying in that moment is going to be hot, and I don't want to start an argument. So it's better. It's better to say, hey, I'm in this place and I need to get back to a healthy place. And then when I come back, we can communicate around that.
And guess what that does? That gives them an opportunity for you to say, I see you. Mm-hmm. Something's happening for you, right? I'm going to take time, which also gives you time in that moment to be like, oh shit, okay, I'm doing that thing. I'm pouting. All right, let me take a moment, take a beat. How do I want to talk about this? What should we address? And now you've both got a little space. Neither one is walking on eggshells because it's in the middle of the room now. You both know there's something going on. But now you're coming back into it prepared to have that conversation. I wonder if even that little change in both of the perspectives would at least somewhat take the charge out of it.
I agree.
You have to get going. You have 9 months to lay tracks. And I'm telling you right now, if these tracks aren't laid, whether you guys are with each other or someone else, the same shit's gonna come up. Give us what your homework is before we end, so you guys leave with something that you know that you can make each other accountable for, right? So what would it be for you?
I'm going to put into practice the identifying the pouting before it begins, and then
or once you're in it, that's fine.
Even when I'm in it, and then to acknowledge it, and then just to say I'm going to go do something about this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I'm going to go for a run, or I'm going to go lift weights, or I'm going to go skate with the homies, or go burn one with some friends, whatever it is, and just communicate it with her.
That's on the surface. Internally, you're saying, "Oh,
fixing myself."
It's that. Well, no. You're saying
identifying.
It's that 14-year-old that was used to whatever it was, and I'm going to, as an adult, take care of him. Right. I'm not going to let him control me, or throw a piece at the wall, or not. And I think that connection, that reunion, is important. So you're not just doing something, because that's a Band-Aid.
Right.
You're on this journey with your own self. And saying, oh, okay, I notice I'm pouting. Where's that coming from? Oh, it's coming from because, my dad, whatever it was, right? And you're talking yourself through this. And why are you doing this? So
and by the way, that share, that's what you're going to come back and share. When you do reconnect, you're bringing to her, here's what that 14-year-old was what was that story that was happening? Here's what's going on for me. Because guess what? That's going to elicit compassion and togetherness. Because it's not about, I want to be intimate and you don't. That's not what it's about, right? It's, I feel like we haven't spent any time together. I'm feeling disconnected. Again, I need to be desired. Whatever the story is, right? And I'm looking for external soothing. But if you're able to sit with that and figure out what that 14-year-old is really desiring in that moment, having that kind of conversation is going to establish a much deeper connection and elicit very different responses, right?
Okay, so what would be your homework?
My homework is finding things to self-soothe and build my self-worth that are healthy, and to communicate when I feel that shutdown is coming and that I feel aggravated. To communicate that, find a healthy way to exert that hot energy to come back and be in a place to have understanding before I'm even understood. It was really amazing to meet with another couple that would be, instead of just one individual, especially it being like a mirror that they experience some of the same things we are experiencing. It felt really uplifting to hear someone else's story, to not feel like we're alone in this, that other couples deal with this too, and wanting to find solutions to continue forward.
It was, as he said, he told us it would be direct, and it was very direct.
I love
and
that.
I appreciate that, because it forces you to have a genuine reaction, forces me to have a genuine reaction when somebody kind of comes off the cuff and gives you intense questioning like that, which is great. And their exercises were thoughtful, something that we want to put into practice
What was really interesting for me was how similar they were to us. And I think a lot of times when we do sessions, we will find similarities in clients and relationships that, things that we struggle with as well.
Human nature, right?
Yeah.
Wanting to connect and seeing yourself in other people's stories. But it's always powerful, I think, when somebody comes in, as a couples therapist with such a established, like very obvious sense of love and respect and reverence for the other person, because that's something that's really hard to rebuild. So I think a valuable takeaway for me is that reminder to do this kind of work when that reverence and that love is still there and still powerful. Because sometimes I think people start doing this work sometimes too late.
I think they have a chance because of what she's talking about. They have a sincere, genuine love for each other.
Yeah.
And I think if they could get, if they could swim past the breakers, as we say, and practice more in how to create a safe space and kind of take ownership for all the stuff that comes up individually, they have a great shot. And I think the child can actually get them to be closer, although it's, the logistics are really difficult, but of raising a child.
Yeah, these are skills, right? Like what they're working on are skills. The love is there. Like the skills can be learned and honed and taught, right? But the base is there.
It felt more as a conversation between friends than it did a therapy session, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I think it's great and powerful for us to be able to connect with other people and do our best to provide, I don't know, some kind of nugget or some spark of a desire to, to learn more, to grow more, to do more in their relationships. And so it makes me walk away kind of feeling, enlivened, I suppose.
Yeah. And for me, as therapists, we're supposed to do some pro bono work. We're supposed to give back. And I haven't found my way of doing that. I've done it a few times as far as online, but I feel like maybe this is my way of doing that, giving back once in a while.